She is the one who has felt the sting of rejection, not because she is unworthy of love, but because the love she carries cannot be shared with just anyone. God has jealously hidden her heart, as a king hides his treasure awaiting the appointed time, and in this divine waiting, she has learned to feast not on the bread of approval, but on the word that proceeds from the mouth of God. She has known the ache of silence, not merely the absence of sound, but the cavernous echo of misunderstood purpose. Friends may have come and gone, not out of betrayal, but because their season was short while her journey is long. Her walk demands deeper roots than fleeting companionships can offer. And so she has learned to keep company with Christ alone, drinking from wells that others cannot see. There is something sacred in her detachment, not a bitterness toward others, but a recognition that she was not built for the casual rhythms of this world. God has trained her ears to recognize his voice in the stillness. He has trained her hands to serve unseen, and he has trained her eyes to look past what is, into what shall be. The world cannot comprehend such a woman, and often it will mock what it does not understand, but heaven rejoices over her. The angels mark her steps, for she is one of those rare ones who have chosen the narrow path, the quiet obedience, the unseen sacrifice. She is not perfect. In fact, she knows her flaws well, but she has surrendered them to the potter's hands. She has placed her ambitions, her dreams, and her desires on the altar not out of despair, but because she trusts that the author of her story writes with eternal ink. Her wounds have become altars of worship, and her tears are gathered in the cup of God's remembrance. This setting apart is not a punishment, it is a promotion. For when God sets a woman apart, it is because he intends to entrust her with something sacred. He does not waste pain. He does not waste silence. Every unanswered prayer, every sleepless night, every hidden act of faith, he stores them all like precious incense. She is not forgotten, she is being fashioned. She is not overlooked, she is being observed by heaven. And though the world may call her alone, God calls her beloved. For it is in the wilderness that he speaks most clearly, and it is in the hidden place that he forges unshakable strength. She may not see the full picture yet. The fog may still veil her tomorrow, but she walks in trust, not in sight. For she has learned that obedience is more valuable than clarity, and faith is stronger than familiarity. God does not rush masterpieces, and she is his masterpiece in the making. When others run toward platforms, she runs toward prayer closets. When others chase applause, she chases after his presence. The fire that refines her is not one of worldly ambition, but of heavenly alignment. She burns not for fame, but for faithfulness. And though the flame is hot, she does not fear it because she knows who walks with her in the fire. Let it be known, this woman, who walks alone with no friends, is not a victim of isolation, she is a vessel of preparation. God is not withholding relationships from her. He is building relationship within her. He is cultivating discernment, depth, and a quiet power that only the Spirit can give. In a world addicted to noise, she has become fluent in stillness. In a time obsessed with visibility, she has become content with being hidden so long as she is hidden in Christ. And when her appointed hour comes, she will emerge not with empty words, but with eternal wisdom. She will speak not from borrowed opinions, but from sacred experience. She will carry oil in her lamp, not because others gave it to her, but because she paid the price in secret. She will walk in authority, not because she fought for position, but because she knelt in submission. And she will love fiercely, not because she needs to be loved back, but because she has been loved first by the one who is love itself. Oh, let us not pity her. Let us not misunderstand the woman who walks alone. She is not behind, she is ahead. She is not less than, she is more than what the eye can see. For she walks with God, and that, dear reader, is the highest calling of all. The isolation of a soul is one of the deepest mysteries in God's divine workshop. It is not without purpose, nor is it without precedent. For if we search the scriptures and the sacred hush of history, we shall find a pattern repeated time and again. When God calls someone to himself in a peculiar way, he first leads them into solitude. This is not the isolation of punishment. It is not born of rejection, nor is it the consequence of some failure. Rather, it is a pruning, a holy silence that clears away the noise so that the voice might be heard with unmistakable clarity. When God isolates a woman, it is because he seeks to instill within her a kind of strength that cannot be built in crowds. It is a separation for sanctification, a drawing away so that the soul might be drawn inward and upward. Like Moses on the mountain, like David in the wilderness, like Mary pondering in her heart, so too does this woman find herself removed from the multitude, that she might commune with majesty. The world would have her believe she is abandoned, that she is lacking, that something is wrong, but nothing could be more false. She is not where others are because she is not going where others go. The path she walks is narrower. The weight she carries is heavier. The vision she holds is holier. And so, the Lord separates her not to break her, but to build her in secret. Think not that the absence of companionship is the absence of value. In fact, it is often the very opposite. A jewel of high worth is not thrown among common stones. It is locked away, polished in secret, and revealed only in appointed time. Likewise, this woman's isolation is proof not of her insignificance, but of her significance. God is guarding her from the lesser so He can entrust her with the greater. We must not forget that spiritual greatness rarely blooms in public. The oak is not made mighty in the sunlight alone, but in the unseen depths of root and earth. Likewise, the character of this woman is not forged in social approval but in sacred anonymity. She is hidden because her preparation requires it. She is being taught lessons that crowds cannot teach. She is learning to depend on God alone. No flattering voices surround her. No echo chamber of opinions. Just the solitary sound of God's whisper in the deep parts of her heart. It is here that faith is purified, not by agreement but by silence. It is here that obedience becomes real, because there is no applause to reward it, only the smile of heaven. In this divine isolation, she begins to discern between what is eternal and what is temporal. She learns that popularity is fleeting, that praise is fickle, and that even the most loyal companions can be mistaken in their judgments. But the Lord, He never misjudges. He sees rightly. And He calls her to trust Him when no one else sees what she carries. The isolation also purges her of false attachments. Friends who could not go the distance. Relationships built on convenience, not covenant. Connections born of comfort, not calling. God lovingly, though painfully, removes them not to leave her empty, but to make room for what is holy. For He cannot fill a vessel already full of idols. And yet, we must be honest, this isolation is not easy. It is not romantic. It is not soft and serene. It is often brutal. The nights are long. The tears are real. The silence can feel suffocating. She cries out, "Where is everyone?" And heaven replies, "I am enough." She pleads for someone to understand her burden, but none do, because it was never theirs to carry. God has entrusted it to her, and her alone. She may watch others flourish in social circles, thrive in popularity, and find comfort in companionship, while she remains in the shadow. But shadows are not signs of God's absence, they are often signs of His nearness. For He dwells in the thick darkness as much as in the radiant light. He is as close in the cave as in the cathedral. And here, in the quiet cave of her isolation, God begins to do what no crowd ever could. He reveals to her her true self, not the curated version, not the one shaped by others' opinions, but the self made in His image. She sees both her frailty and her fierce dignity, her brokenness and her belovedness. She realizes she is not merely someone to be known, she is someone already known, fully and forever, by the one who called her out. From this place she will emerge transformed. Not louder but wiser, not flashier but deeper, not seeking attention but carrying an anointing. For God does not isolate to imprison, He isolates to impart. There is something He wants to give her that cannot be entrusted to the distracted. A revelation. A mantle. A ministry. Perhaps even a warning or a word for others. But before it is given, it must be stewarded in solitude. Because what is forged in public may be applauded, but what is forged in secret will endure. So let her not despise this season. Let her not mistake it for divine neglect. It is divine nearness in disguise. It is the Lord drawing her to Himself, so that when she is sent out, she will not carry the fragrance of the crowd but the fragrance of Christ. Let her wait. Let her wrestle. Let her weep, if need be. But let her also rejoice, for to be isolated by God is to be invited into a deeper intimacy with Him. And that, my friend, is the highest honor a soul can receive. Solitude for most is a fearful word. The very thought of being alone unsettles the modern soul, so accustomed to noise, to validation, to the constant hum of presence. But solitude, in the realm of God, is not a punishment, it is a portal. It is not a void to be feared, but a garden in which God cultivates the strongest souls. For it is in the silence, not the shouting, that God often speaks with thunder. The woman who walks alone, not by choice but by calling, discovers a strength the world cannot manufacture. It is not the strength of defiance or independence, but of deep surrender. She is not strong because she needs no one. She is strong because she has learned to need only one. While others draw their strength from affirmation, from groupthink, from social scaffolding, this woman draws hers from stillness. And that stillness has become her sanctuary. It is there that her roots grow deeper than appearances, deeper than feelings, deeper than fleeting successes or failures. Her foundation is not laid on shifting sand but on the rock that does not move. She has learned to be quiet in a loud world, and therein lies her power. Let us be clear, this strength was not always hers. No, it was forged. It was not inherited, it was imparted through trial, through fire, through aching silence and dark nights of the soul. Solitude did not flatter her. It stripped her. It exposed the false comforts she once clung to. It revealed her fears, her wounds, her misplaced trust. And in that unveiling, God began to rebuild her not in her image, but in His. When she walks now, she walks with a quiet authority. It is not loud, but it is undeniable. It comes from having faced herself and survived. It comes from having sat with God in the secret place long enough to know who she is, and more importantly, who she is. No crowd can give that. No friend can substitute it. This kind of strength is rare because the path to it is painful. She has learned to be misunderstood and unmoved, misjudged and still kind. She has learned to bless others even when she herself walks with a limp, because she knows that God does not waste a wilderness. Every step, every tear, every lonely prayer, He was shaping her into someone who cannot be swayed by popular opinion or brought low by temporal rejection. She has ceased striving to be seen, because she knows she is already watched by heaven. She no longer begs for belonging, because she has found her home in the presence of God. And that presence, oh that presence, it has become her breath, her compass, her security. This strength of solitude is not the icy strength of detachment. No, it is the warm, enduring strength of communion. For solitude with God is not abandonment, it is appointment. She is not alone because she is unloved. She is alone because she has been entrusted with something sacred. And sacred things are always hidden before they are revealed. In solitude, she has become acquainted with spiritual warfare. Not the kind sung about in songs, but the kind fought in the quiet of her spirit. The battlefield is her mind, the enemy is subtle, and the weapons are unseen. Yet day by day she has learned to take thoughts captive, to silence lies, to wield the sword of truth with precision. This strength is marked by discernment. She sees beyond words. She detects motives. She understands when to speak, and when silence is the higher wisdom. Her solitude has trained her to listen not just to people, but to the spirit. She is not rushed. She is not reactive. She has become deliberate, measured, grounded. And make no mistake, the enemy fears such a woman. Not because she is loud, but because she is stable. Not because she shouts scripture, but because she lives it. She is unmoved by flattery, unmoved by attack, unmoved by comparison, because her anchor holds in the secret place where God has trained her hand for battle. She no longer runs from solitude. She cherishes it. Because she has learned that the secret to walking in power is first to kneel in private. While others build platforms, she builds altars. While others chase visibility, she chases obedience. Her strength is not built in moments, but in seasons. Long, faithful seasons of silence, where the only voice she heard was God's, and that voice became enough. She does not fear being alone now. In fact, she fears losing the intimacy she has found there. For it was in solitude that she learned God is not just a rescuer, He is a companion. Not just a deliverer, but a lover of her soul. And in that love, she has found courage beyond her comprehension. Her strength now blesses others not in speeches, but in presence. People are drawn to her peace, though they don't always understand it. They sense something different, something holy. And indeed it is. It is the fragrance of someone who has walked with God in the fire, and come out not smelling like smoke. This strength of hers, born in solitude, is not just for her. It is a lamp for others, a testament to what God can do with a soul willing to walk alone, if it means walking closer to Him. Her life is now a silent sermon, a living letter written not in ink but in endurance. She is no longer afraid of being set apart. She understands that oil flows in the crushing, that pearls are formed in hidden places, that true wine comes from pressed grapes. Her strength is not in escaping solitude, but in embracing the one who fills it. She walks alone, yes, but she is not lonely, for she walks with God. And that, dear reader, is a strength the world cannot imitate, nor can it steal. To the untrained eye she may appear forgotten, a solitary figure, quiet, distant, detached. But oh, how deceiving the surface can be. For beneath what looks like isolation, a mighty construction is taking place, not of stone and timber, but of spirit and soul. God, the great architect, is building her in silence. He is crafting her in the hidden places where few dare to look. And what he is building will not merely stand the test of time, it will shake kingdoms. You see, while others are distracted by the glittering scaffolds of the world popularity, partnership praise this woman walks through the valley of solitude, and in doing so she walks straight into the master's workshop. She has become the project of heaven. Not an afterthought, but a masterpiece in the making. For God never sends his finest vessels into public use until they have first endured private formation. There, in the holy hush of being unseen, God is chiseling her. He is carving away false dependencies, stripping her of idols one by one, not to punish but to purify, not to withhold but to prepare. For how can he trust her with influence if she is still addicted to applause? How can he entrust her with truth if she still fears being misunderstood? No, he must do the deeper work, and that requires aloneness. He is strengthening her inner frame, the part no one sees. Her mind, once scattered by anxiety, is now being trained to take refuge in his promises. Her emotions, once like turbulent waves, are now being anchored by truth. Her will, once swayed by approval, is being reformed into obedience. In solitude, she is being welded to the will of God, and that bond is unbreakable. She is learning that character is not built in crowds. It is refined in caves. The cave of disappointment, the cave of silence, the cave where her only audience is God. And there, he teaches her the sacred art of stillness, not as inactivity, but as trust. Not as passivity, but as surrender. She is discovering that it is better to walk alone in the right direction than to follow a crowd that is lost. While the world rushes to build a name, God is building in her a nature. While others chase a platform, he is deepening her purity. For she is not called to reflect the culture, she is called to reflect Christ. And such a calling demands an inner transformation so thorough, so radical, that it cannot be rushed. It must be cultivated in seasons that feel like exile, but are in fact preparation. God is constructing within her a resilience. Not the brittle kind that breaks under pressure, but the divine kind that bows and does not snap. She is becoming unoffendable, unshakable, uncompromising, because she has learned that her strength is not in herself, it is in the one who walks beside her, even when others walk away. She is learning to love without needing to be loved back, to serve without being seen, to speak truth even when it costs her comfort. These are not small lessons. These are eternal ones, and each one is laying another stone in the temple God is raising within her. He is giving her eyes to see as he sees. No longer impressed by outward appearances, she sees the heart. She discerns spirits. She recognizes wolves even when they wear wool. This discernment is not born from bitterness, but from brokenness healed by God's own hand. In her alone time, God has taught her to listen, to notice, to pray instead of panic, to watch instead of react. And he is placing within her a voice, not just any voice, but a prophetic one, a voice that cuts through deception, a voice that heals the wounded, a voice that calls things by their true names, even when it is unpopular. But before she can speak with such clarity, she must first learn to be silent. And that is why the solitude continues for now. She is being built to carry weight, spiritual weight, emotional weight, the weight of revelation, the weight of responsibility, the weight of warfare. And that kind of vessel must be reinforced. She cannot be cracked by comparison or weakened by rejection. So God hides her. He shelters her. He says not yet, not to harm her, but to ensure that when the time comes she will not crumble. He is teaching her joy not based on circumstances, but on communion. Joy that laughs in the dark, joy that sings in chains, joy that dances even in ashes. For God knows joy is her strength, not the brittle happiness of circumstance, but the blazing joy of certainty that God is for her, with her, and working in her. He is also building in her compassion. Oh yes, compassion. For solitude softens the soul. It enlarges the heart. It teaches one how to weep with those who weep and rejoice without envy, because in her solitude she has needed mercy. And those who have received much mercy are the best dispensers of it. What God is building in her cannot be bought, faked, or mimicked. It must be forged. And that is why he allows the ache to remain just long enough to transform her longing into worship, her waiting into wisdom, her loneliness into legacy. He is not just building her for a moment. He is building her for eternity. He is not preparing her to impress, but to impact. She is not being shaped for man's stage, but for God's throne room. And when the time comes, when He says now, she will emerge not as a woman desperate for recognition, but as one ready to carry the mantle she has earned in the quiet. So do not pity the woman who walks alone. Do not rush to rescue her from her sacred solitude, for God is building something in her that only solitude can construct. And when she emerges, she will not merely be a woman, she will be a warrior, a wellspring, a witness. She walks alone, but she is never truly alone. For God walks beside her, and what He is building in her is eternal. To expect the world to reward her would be like asking shadows to pay homage to the light. She has long since understood this truth. The applause of the world is but a fleeting echo, and the trophies of man gather dust. For the woman who walks alone with God does not set her eyes upon earthly gain. She is not fueled by flattery, nor moved by fame. Her compass points toward a higher kingdom, one whose rewards are not seen but known, not earned but revealed. It is a hard thing to labor in secret, to pray for others who mock her faith, to love those who never reciprocate, to give and not be thanked, to stand for truth and be ridiculed. Yet she does not lose heart. Why? Because she understands that her reward is not delayed, it is simply divine. The treasures she is storing are not silver and gold, but faith refined, love unwavering, and obedience without condition. This woman, she is misunderstood by many. The world, in all its noise, cannot grasp the silence in which she finds her strength. It does not understand the love that gives without return, a devotion that persists without applause. And yet, how free she is. For in surrendering the need for worldly recognition, she has found a joy the world cannot steal. Her reward will not be found in accolades, but in alignment. Alignment with the heart of God. And in that alignment, she experiences a fulfillment that fame could never offer. She knows that heaven sees what the world ignores. That the Father, who watches in secret, is recording her faithfulness with eternal ink. And this is enough for her. She does not hunger for platforms, because she has found her pulpit in prayer. She does not chase popularity, because she walks with the King. She does not strive to be seen, because she is known by the One who formed her in secret and walks with her in silence. Her worth is not up for negotiation, because it is anchored in a cross that declared her valuable once and for all. Yes, the world may overlook her. It may pass her by in search of louder, flashier, more marketable versions of strength. But heaven leans in. For heaven knows her name. Heaven has counted every tear. Heaven has bottled every prayer. Heaven has heard every sigh and seen every act of hidden obedience. She walks through the world unknown, but she is famous in the courts of the Most High. Let them call her odd. Let them call her too intense, too holy, too distant. She does not mind. For those labels are spoken in a language she no longer speaks. She has moved beyond the vocabulary of vanity. She speaks the dialect of the Divine One, in which humility is exalted, sacrifice is honored, and faithfulness is forever remembered. Her reward is not merely future, it is now. It is peace that passes understanding. It is strength in the midst of sorrow. It is purpose that outlives pain. It is a companionship with Christ, so intimate that loneliness loses its sting. These are not small consolations, they are the richest of gifts. And she walks in them daily, quietly, gratefully. She has no need to shout her testimony, for her life preaches. Her obedience is its own sermon, her perseverance its own song. And though few may see the stage she walks upon, heaven sees. The angels witness her worship. The Lord rejoices in her resilience. And the Spirit continues to whisper, "You are mine. Press on." The world will offer its best and still leave one empty. But her cup overflows, not because of abundance, but because of assurance. Assurance that her labor is not in vain, that her sacrifices are seen, that her walk, though solitary, is sacred. This is her reward, the nearness of God. The knowledge that she is part of something far bigger than herself. The promise that her faithfulness will bear fruit, even if not in her lifetime. The holy hope that when her earthly walk ends, she will step into eternal embrace and hear the voice she trusted all along say, "You chose rightly. You followed me. You are home." So let the world misunderstand her. Let them question her silence, her solitude, her strange peace. Let them wonder how she continues to love, to serve, to stand. They do not know what she knows. They do not see what she sees. And they do not realize that she walks not for their reward, but for God's. Her life is a seed planted in secret, but heaven is watering it daily. One day it will bloom in fullness. One day all will see what God saw from the start. One day the reward that was hidden will be revealed. Loneliness, in the eyes of the world, is a deficiency, but in the kingdom of heaven, it is often a mark of distinction. For what is loneliness, if not the echo of a soul too vast, too deep, too heavenly for shallow company? This woman, this brave pilgrim, is not wandering aimlessly. She is walking the narrow path, the one few find, and even fewer follow. She has chosen the uphill road, the quiet road, the road that demands everything yet promises the one thing worth everything, God Himself. Let us not pity her. Let us not rush to fill her solitude with distractions or dull her isolation with noise. Rather, let us revere the strength it takes to remain faithful when no one is watching, to remain kind when no one returns the favor, to remain standing when all others have bowed. Her quiet courage is thunder in heaven. Her unseen tears are jewels in the Father's hand. She may feel the sting of absence here, but oh, how full her arms shall be in eternity. She has learned to lean not on the broken reeds of human approval, but on the eternal rock of Christ. And that leaning, that holy dependence, is her reward even now. She is learning what many never will, that God is enough. Not as a cliché, not as a fallback, but as her truest companion, her fiercest protector, and her unfailing source of joy. She walks alone, yes, but she is never abandoned. The angels watch her steps. The Spirit whispers in her silence. The Father delights in her faithfulness. And the Son, who once walked alone to Calvary, walks beside her still. Her path is narrow, but it leads home.